Hi class, today we're going to talk about the IV and the DV, so independent variable and dependent variable. We know that the IV is X and that the DV is Y, but now we're going to figure out when we're dealing with word problems or a table that is not X and Y, we need to be able to determine who our IV is and who our DV is. So again though, typically, or we already know that the independent variable is always our X and that the dependent variable is Y. So real quick though, if you guys think about what we've been doing, when we've been making those tables, alright, so our X and Y tables, and we come up with our X's. So we've been learning that 0 and 1 are the easiest X's to pick. So think about it though. When we plug in our X's, X comes first, okay? Let's say we have this equation, y equals 3x. We would plug in 0 for X, we would get 0 for Y. If we plug in 1 for X, we get 3 for Y. If we plugged in 2 for X, we would get 6 for Y. Alright, so if you notice here, X is our independent variable. The independent variable always comes first. Okay? Just like with those tables, when we're plugging in stuff, we're plugging in X to figure out what Y is. So some other ways that might help you about the IV. The IV determines the DV, okay? So X determines what Y is, alright? So it determines the IV. X, or the IV, also controls the DV, okay? And another way to help remember this is the IV comes before the DV. So IV before the DV. We need to know what X is before we can figure out what Y is. We need to know our X. So the IV always comes first. Okay? This really works for me. IV before the DV. Some other people might use this down here. The DV depends on the IV. So we can't figure out Y unless we know what X is. So technically think of the DV, so Y depends on what X is. Alright, so any of these sayings, you need to memorize them so that we're able to figure out these situations. Who's who? Who's the IV? Who's the DV? So if we look here and we talk about the amount of studying, all right, that's going to come first. What comes after your studying? Grades. Okay? So think about it like this. The IV is how long or how much we study. And then after that, we get our grades. Your grades depend on how much we study. The amount of studying determines your grades, or it comes before your grades. Let's look at the next one. Pets. Guys, what do we need first before we get pets? What do pets need? Or what do pets depend on? All right, pets depend on their owners. Alright, you need an owner before you can have a pet. Okay, pets depend on your owners. Alright, think of hours you work. So, if you babysit, if you get, let's say, 10 bucks an hour and you work 1 hour, you get 10 bucks. If you work 2 hours, you get 20 bucks. If you work 3 hours, you get 30 bucks. 4 hours, you get 40 bucks. Alright, so the hours you work, that happens first. What happens after you work those hours? You get that money, all right? So how much money you make depends on how many hours we work, or you gotta work those number of hours before you can get that money, before you get that money that you make from babysitting or whatever you're doing. And now guys, this one actually is really, really important. We will see this one a lot. So I just kind of want to highlight it. All right, if we ever have a situation that is talking about money, money is always your DV, okay? It's always our dependent variable. Always, always, always. So if we look at this next example, it's another one kind of dealing with money. Total cost means how much money you spent. So total cost, except now it's not money that you get, it's money that you're spending at like a store. Well guys, that's going to depend on how much stuff you buy. So you buy your stuff and then we figure out how much we have to pay. So number of items or how many things you buy, whatever you want to write here. Okay? Now, first we're going to look at finding the IV and the DV from a table. So there are going to be different situations. These two examples are if we're given a table like this. Now, our typical table like this, who came first, X or Y over here? What are we used to seeing? Yeah, X. All right, X always goes in the first column, and then Y goes in the second column. And now we know that given just our words, the independent variable, all right, remember, in means X, okay? So our independent variable is going to be this first guy, our X, and our dependent variable is Y. So if we look at this other table over here, it says that it shows the relationship between the number of miles traveled on gallons of gas. Well guys, this is a table just like we have to the left, but now instead of just X and Y, so typically we see X and Y, right? Instead of X and Y, we have G and M, or gasoline and distance. Well, we have to just think, how is this normally set up? It's normally X and Y, the IV and the DV. So here our IV would be the gas, or just G, you could use either one. And what would the DV be, or the dependent variable? Yeah, it would be that distance, okay, or the miles, or M. Okay, so we just use what we already know. Now, let's say that we have an equation that we're being given. All right, think about how we normally see our equations. All right, what comes first? Right here. Is it the X or the Y? Think about where you plug X into. All right, we always plug X in. X is going to go there, and it's always Y equals da-da-da-da-da. Y equals 2X. Y equals X minus 4. Or here, Y equals 3X plus 5. All right, we already know the IV is X, the DV or dependent is Y. So again, here, the thing that you work out, that's your X or independent variable. When it says Y equals, Y is your dependent. So looking at this other equation now over here, which would you think is our independent and dependent? Okay, comparing it to the left. Well, our independent is going to be the thing that we would plug in, all right? We would do some work over here. We could plug in 1 for S, 2 for S, 3 for S. So our independent is S. Oops, I definitely wrote that wrong. That's supposed to be S, and our dependent is going to be A. Okay? Just like that. All right, let's go ahead and look at a few more. Let's say we have to figure out our IV and DV from a word problem. All right, we know that Panera charges $1.50 per bagel. Lauren bought 6 bagels, and it totaled to $9. Guys, remember what I said. If we're ever talking about money, money is always your dependent variable. So total money or money spent, however you want to write it. If you just want to, like, money spent, total at the end, whatever. Now think about it. The money that she spends depends on what? How is she going to know how much money she's spending? Well, we need to know how many bagels she's going to buy first. So the money she spends depends on how many bagels she buys. Okay? Because we cannot change how much it costs per bagel. Panera charges a certain amount. But the thing that Lauren can decide is how many bagels she's going to buy. That's the thing that she can change. You know, if she bought 5 bagels, it would be less money. If she bought 7 bagels, it would be more money. That's the thing that would change, like when we change our X value. All right, and this is what is controlling how much money she spends. So the number of bagels she buys is going to come first. This has to be decided before we figure out how much money she spends. All right, how much money she spends depends on the number of bagels. All right, we can think about it either way. All right, again, that $1.50 per bagel, that's like a done deal. That cannot be changed. That's what Panera does. But we can change how many bagels she buys, all right? And then that will determine how much she's going to spend there at Panera. All right, let's look at the next one for a word problem. So the number of cupcakes that Tim makes for his brother's birthday depends on the number of friends invited. So let's think about this. What has to happen first? Is he going to make the cupcakes first? Or are they going to invite the friends first? Which one is he going to do first? Or which one has to happen first? Remember, the IV comes first. All right, yeah, he has to invite those friends. So the IV, or the independent variable, is how many friends they invite. The number of friends, or you could just write friends. And now, guys, this is going to come before the number of cupcakes. Okay, so the number of cupcakes depends on how many friends they invite. Or we can think of it as the number of friends determines how many cupcakes, or it comes first. It comes before the cupcakes. All right, so again, we can think about these. We have quite a few different ways to remember. Remember one of these sentences, whatever works best for you guys. All right. Not only do we need to be able to figure out who the IV and the DV is, but we might also have to solve some word problems, okay? So let's look at this first one. Monica cleaned cars last week. She made 45 bucks. So that's the total that she made, but then it says she charges $9 per car wash. So for each car, she charged $9. She made 45 total. So how many cars did she clean? So a lot of you might already be getting the answer, but what did you do? So we started off with 45. That's the total. She charged $9 per car. Okay, so yeah, we're going to divide by that 9. Okay, because it's 45. It was 9 per car. When we work that out, we get that it was 5 cars. Okay. She cleaned 5 cars to make that 45 bucks. All right, let's look at this last problem. Joey charges $5 to mow lawns. Oops, 15 bucks. I'm shortchanging him. So he charges 15 bucks to mow lawns. If he mowed 4 lawns, how much money did he make? So guys, He charged $15 4 times. 15 bucks for the first lawn, 15 for the second one, third one, and the fourth one. All right, you can either add 15 4 times to figure out his total money, or what else can we do? Yeah, we could do 15 times 4, and that gives him a total of $60. Okay. And then real quick, if we wanted to think about the IV and DV on these, for Joey, the DV is how much money he makes. The IV is the number of lawns he mows. Again, that can be changed. He can mow 1 lawn, he can mow 5, he can mow 10, 20. All right, we're not changing how much money he charges. So again, the IV would be the number of lawns, the DV would be his total money that he makes. If we look over here at Monica, her DV would be how much money she makes. The IV here would be the number of cars she cleans. Okay? Once you're feeling ready, you're going to go ahead and finish up this page. Okay? When you're done with this page, get checked. And then you're going to go ahead and do this page, front and back. Okay, and then you'll get checked again. All right, good luck. Ask questions if you have them. Rewatch the video if you need to. You got this.